Are you playing singles?
I'm not. I think I'm retired from singles.
What?
Bro, have you seen Christian Alshon? No. That dude's good at pickleball. He's faster than me. He's like, all these guys are...
I don't like this mentality. I don't agree with this.
No.
Unsubscribe.
I am a double specialist.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, darling, had
That's too good.
Is that
Where
a
is that
hickey?
place?
Is that a hickey or a welt? Tune into this podcast to find out.
Neither of you have noticed yet.
The gum on your on your
That,
coat.
my friends, is bird shit.
Oh, that's good luck.
Got hit on the way over here. Feeling pretty good about it. I don't know if there's a better omen.
That's
good.
Wow, that's good.
You were just showing your welts. You want to explain to the people why you have welts? I have so many
Do you really?
all over my body.
Well, this past weekend was my bachelor party. I had a couple buddies come into town, and on Saturday we went paintballing. And it was not just us paintballing. At first it was us. We were like the first people there. But I got like 10, 15 pickleballers there. And then these people in like their full uniforms and like souped up guns and stuff show up. And
the equivalent of the dudes who like show up to rec courts in like full Selkirk outfits.
for sure.
We all know those people.
This is the equivalent of like us going there and going to like the Pickle Ranch rooftop and playing with a new Peepo paddle, and then like getting in a game with Deckel and Colin.
Guess New Peepo won't be sponsoring any podcast going forward.
All right, Amazing Aces.
yeah.
I can throw a bunch of paddle brands under the
No, we were outmatched pretty obviously, but there was the one game where you and I were like, let's just follow this guy.
For
We
sure.
just followed him up the left, and I think we probably won that game.
We had some good teamwork in that one.
Yeah.
Like we were both bunkered down behind this hunk of metal.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
The helicopter.
There was a helicopter.
So who was there? John Sincola, Jack Monroe,
John, Jack,
Carlos
Adrian,
DeLora,
Maximo, Carlos,
Aaron D'Onofrio,
a couple of my buddies from
Pickleball.
Pickleball was there. Let's see. I have the list somewhere or another.
So it was good. So there
Oh,
was,
I don't have the list.
There was one game where me and Johnson Cola, there's basically a map. There's like bunkers, there's houses. The right side of the course, or we'll call it a map, the right side of the map is raised above the rest of it, right? So Sincola and I say, okay, we need to just get to higher ground, so we're going to sprint aggressively as soon as he says go. And so we cruise up the right side, and we make it pretty far, and now we're in this house. And Jack Monroe is in a house like directly across from us, but I can't tell which house he's in. Sincola knows exactly where he is. Sincola gets hit by Monroe like through the window or something. And so he's like, I'm out. And he starts walking. I'm like, where is he? He tells me that Jack Monroe is in a different house than he's in. So Jack Monroe runs up the right side because I'm not paying attention and comes into the building behind me and is point blank. Now, when you're point blank in pickleball or in paintball, it hurts, right? You're supposed to say surrender, and the person is supposed to surrender, and then you're out. So Jack Monroe instead just says, boom, 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 and lights me up. I didn't realize he was not on my team. I assumed he was just one of my teammates being an absolute moron. So I scream at him, and I like cuss him out in anger because, again, I just got shot point blank. And then I realized he was on my team and Johnson Cola, or he was on the other team and Johnson Cola sabotaged me.
Oh man, yikes! Yeah, that does not feel good. Like we all had layers on
it
and
hurts.
stuff. And yeah, he came up to me afterwards because we were on the same team, and he was like, "Dude, I just lit up Thomas. He's not happy."
No, he definitely. I turned around and freaked out. I was like legitimately mad in the moment, and he definitely was like, I felt bad.
Well, after we finished up, our guy Diego was the guy who was like running our group. He had told us about this thing called a white rabbit, and I was like, "All right, I'll do it." But a white rabbit is where you have your entire group on one side of this course, and then the white rabbit without a gun on the other side of the course, and they have to do a down and back sprint while everybody is just unloading all of their ammo on you. And like I was actually feeling pretty good. I got shot a few times, but it was like in my gun and it was in my hand, or stuff that didn't hurt all that bad. And so I'm sprinting. I make it all the way down. They shot me in the feet a couple times. They shot me in the hands. Didn't hurt too bad. And then I'm sprinting, and I've got my arm up, like, because I'm going full sprint trying to get out of there. I get shot in the rib cage.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the time, I'm like running with my arm down, and oh man, I got shot probably like 10, 12 times in that white rabbit. But like half of our group had left, unfortunately. Fortunately.
Yeah, right. So there are less people to shoot you. But this is basically a firing squad, and Zane just does a suicide, and you just shoot him. So for whatever reason, Zane wanted to do that.
I felt like it was a rite of passage on the Bachelor party.
We'll put the video in post so people can actually watch it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I asked the like 15-year-old referee guy to film a video for us. It could have been much better, but you got the essence of what was happening. Lots of gunshots. One guy running around in an Orlando Squeeze hoodie.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah. But it was like, we were comparing it to pickleball the whole time, right? Like if you've never played pickleball before, and then you're playing with a bunch of like 4-0s, 4-5s, like you just get smoked, and that's essentially what happened. But then we went to a comedy show, and during the comedy show, I look over at Zane, and his eyes are closed, and he's nodding off.
Dude, it was past 9 o'clock. I go to bed at like 9 o'clock.
And then, so Zane is at the point where he's like basically falling asleep, but we keep him awake, and we walk out of the comedy show, and we're standing out front, and Zane looks at me and goes, "Should I tweet that we're going to do an emergency pod?" I go, "Yeah, obviously."
Now, I had a good time at Chili's before this.
Yes, they went to Chili's. You guys actually went to Chili's.
We did go to Chili's.
I thought you were joking when you told me that.
What's wrong with Chili's?
Nothing's wrong with Chili's.
No, don't get me wrong. Chili's is kind of gross, but like, it's gross, and like it's gross, and you embrace that it's gross. And they had some drinkities there. So, enough to make me want to fall asleep.
Well, even at the comedy show, you were ordering some like fruity drink, and I was like, "Dude, you're not gonna make it."
No, and that drink was bad, but the comedy was pretty good. What I
Comedy
saw
was
of it,
good, yeah. Except for the ones where you were asleep.
Yeah, so we got some good hate messages. Like, dude, come on. Who actually,
for the emergency pod that didn't happen.
Who actually thinks we're gonna podcast at midnight on a whatever it was, a Saturday? Like,
well, the only reason to do that is if it were insane news. So,
and it wasn't.
There was no news.
There wasn't. So I apologize. Kind of, not really.
Yeah,
you guys got to know when you're getting trolled. Like, am I just too good at trolling, or I think you guys got to take some accountability for getting trolled.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Real quick, going back to the comedy show, we instituted something new here on the pod where we allowed listeners to call in and provide voicemails for us to react to. So check our socials in the future. We'll be posting a few days before, so get your calls in. But this is from the Pickleball Lotus and directed to you, Zane. So
you know who that is?
I've got an idea of who it is.
Let's see if we can hear this.
Hey, this is Pickle Lotus from Austin, Texas. Big fan of the show. Just wanted to call because over the weekend I was at a comedy club kind of close to campus here in Austin, and I thought I saw Zane sleeping in a chair front row of the show probably around 8:30 p.m. I just want to make sure that that's not the same guy, right? He wouldn't fall asleep in public. All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
That's good stuff. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Is that somebody who was with us?
Yeah, that was Carlos. I am like, it was stand-up comedy, and I was like 8 feet away from these comedians tops. I am
You were in the front row.
I was in the front row. I am so lucky that I did not get called out by one of these comedians, like just roasting me for falling asleep. But really, if they did, it was kind of a roast on themselves. Like, oh man, am I really that bad if the dude in the front row is falling asleep?
Yeah. No, I mean, these aren't like big name comics with established careers, right? These are like up and comers. So you can only imagine. I wonder if any of them have ever dealt with somebody asleep in the audience before. It can't be very good for the confidence.
I just am not a night person. And like when I drink, and I had like a little bit to drink a ton to drink for my standards, but for like normal human being standards, I had like probably 2.5 standard drinks. But that's enough for me, and it just makes me want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I did.
And so that's what I did. All right, what do we got next?
Zane, you threw this in here. Not really sure what this entails, but Zane's $500 in singles involving your girlfriend/fiance.
So I realized this yesterday. Yesterday I filmed a whole new segment of YouTube videos where we're doing some challenges, and I'm really excited about it, but I was doing a cash prize. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm going to pay these guys. Whoever wins the money. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get $500, and I'm going to get $500 in singles to make it look better, because $500 in singles looks a lot better than $500 bills. And so the Thursday before my bachelor party, I say to my fiance, hey, can you go to the bank and get $500 in singles? And she's like, what the hell are you going to do this weekend? I'm like, oh, crap. No. It's for a YouTube video.
Yeah, right.
And I told this story to everybody yesterday, and they loved it. The only person who did not love it was my fiance, but she thought it was funny that I didn't even think about
Yeah, you didn't
think
put it
about
together.
that before the bachelor party.
Yeah, you better make this video and make sure she watches it just to ease her worries.
Noted.
Yeah.
The $500 all made their way back to the apartment yesterday, so don't rob me.
All right, we talking pickleball?
I think so. Got a pretty sweet new event coming up. It's new for the Dink and gonna coincide with the Super Bowl in Vegas. So
Yeah, so we'll be at the Plaza Hotel and Casino. PPA's done some tournaments there. APP has a really cool venue, rooftop, 12 courts, one like really great championship court. We're doing a celebrity pro-am and an amateur tournament, so that's February 9th and 10th. Is the amateur tournament on Friday and the celebrity pro-am on Saturday?
I believe so. Yeah.
We better get that right. Yeah, so celebrity pro-am is on Friday, and the amateur tournament is on Saturday. So if you're gonna be in Vegas for the Super Bowl, come out to the tournament. You can also buy tickets to watch the Celebrity Pro-Am, and we will have Logan Lyle, who, if you don't know what Doc Talk is, go look it up, but he just does like sayings and dad jokes on a doc, and he has like millions and millions of followers for it. We've got a bunch of Super Bowl champions like Golden Tate, Marcellus Wiley from SB Nation and ESPN, Kelly Dodd from the Real Housewives, Casey Patterson will be there. AreyoukiddingTV, Trill Williams, Cliff Averill, Tony Crosby, and then we've got Matt Manasseh's going to help us host it. We got Connor Garnett there, Cameron Blackwood, and there's going to be a lot of other talent. It's going to be really cool. So you can find the article on our site where you can register, but we'll also put it in the show description here. If you're going to be out there, would love to see anybody out there to come compete. But
So is this
it's gonna be
something
pretty
that you
cool.
guys are like hosting and putting together?
Yeah, so it's us and the Inspiring Children Foundation, and then the Plaza Hotel and Casino crew. So yeah, it's the best pickleball venue in Vegas. Super Bowl weekend. It should be pretty awesome.
For sure. Yeah, that sounds like pretty sweet. What's the celebrity pro-am gonna look like?
We're gonna pair people. We're gonna do round robin and a playoff. It's gonna be live streamed, so you can tune in on the Dink YouTube, and then it will also be played afterward on Pickle TV if you're subscribed to that. So,
Do we know if any of these pro or the AMs have any game?
I mean, Casey's got game. Golden Tate's got game. Bryce Butler plays a ton. He's training with Tyson McGuffin. I think was that today or yesterday?
Yeah, we got a post this morning. Bryce is out training with Tyson. Got his Selkirk bag ready to go.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
So yeah, should be pretty good. Should I play as a pro?
You can do whatever you want. Go for it. Send it.
But yeah, okay. All right. What?
Well, in other words, we're coming up on a big deadline. Tomorrow is January 31st, the so-called self-imposed deadline for the MLP PPA merger. Still have not heard too many updates. What's going to happen?
I don't know.
Run through.
Do you know why this is a deadline? Like what makes January 31st have any significance to you, or what? I thought it was December 30th.
Arbitrary deadline.
Right. I mean, so yes, it's the new deadline, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
I would at this point bet money that it doesn't happen tomorrow. Like
No,
I think we need
it
to have
definitely
some. I think we need to have some odds on some of these at this point. Like, do you have to just drive to Florida to be able to bet on whether the merger happens or what? We got to ask our girl Sophia from Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. No. By all accounts, it's moving in the right direction. There's still some outstanding items that they're trying to sort through. So one of which is this management fee and the liquidation preferences, which are details surrounding the capital injection that was supposed to be from Al Tilas and Jason Stein, which then, if we remember from previous episode, Tom Wagner came in and sort of offered better terms, but then he pulled out. So now it's back to, I think, sort of the original structure, but now there's some negotiation around what the management fee actually is and what the liquidation preferences are. What I've heard is that, so Jimmy on King of the Court said that one of the biggest holdups is the fact that they want all players to sign a deal. I think we all know that that's pretty implausible and not going to happen. Not everybody's going to sign a deal. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? But they do want MLP players to finalize their reduced contracts, so the revisions. But then they also want all the PPA players to commit to a certain amount of Major League Pickleball events. You can't have a draft until you know how many events which players are going to play in.
Right.
Right. So obviously this first event is canceled. I think they're hoping that the first event will be March 30th in North Carolina. But then I think there's also an interesting detail is, top-notch management, which played a huge factor in all of this. Now they're being essentially shut out by the PPA. And I think there is something going on with the players who were signed with top-notch, and now the players feel like they can't rely on top-notch, and they're essentially negotiating their own deals. And so there's stagnancy because of that as well. And then I think the other detail is DUPR going to be a part of this thing or not, which we still don't have clarity on.
It seems like DUPR is, just from the outside looking in, it seems like they're very much acting on their own, right? But I would assume that they would be caught in some of this holding pattern if they really were going to be looped into some of this deal, right? If MLP is in a holding pattern because they're not going to do anything until they merge, I would think that DUPR being owned by MLP and being part of this new merged entity would be acting in a similar way. Mm-hmm. So at least based on the way that they're acting, it seems like they're going to be on their own. But yeah, I thought it was interesting the comment that Jimmy had made that they want every pro to have agreed to a reduction or a new contract before basically moving forward.
I don't see how there's a world where that happens.
I don't either.
So to me,
I've heard
like
on
they just want
on
the key players.
Yeah, well, I've heard on the flip side, right? There's a lot of people who are not negotiating anymore until the merger happens, right? So I've heard both. We're not going to negotiate with you until the merger happens. The merger's not happening until the players agree to these reductions. Those are definitely mutually exclusive statements there, right? You cannot have it both ways.
So what's your status in all of this?
My status is very much unknown. I'm waiting to hear, and I feel like I'm sitting at the table waiting for a negotiation to happen. Like,
yeah.
I've been pretty clear in where I am at. Been been clear since the beginning, since this entire thing happened, that the pay cuts are reasonable and to be expected. So, I'm sitting at the table, but I'm waiting.
Mm-hmm. And you're planning to play PPAs next year, right? Or this year?
I'm playing a PPA. I'm playing Desert Ridge this weekend. But I will. A lot of it depends on where we end up with these contracts, right? If I don't end up signing an MLP PPA joint contract, I can't imagine going to play either of those events. But the objective is certainly to play those.
Yeah.
Right.
So one interesting detail is that if you play an APP, you essentially have to make that up in PPA or MLP days. So if you go play an APP, now you also have to play an additional MLP or PPA.
Is this based on a modified contract that somebody has? What is this based off of?
This is something that Jimmy said. So this was not something I had heard elsewhere. Yeah, so I guess to your point, I don't know if that's like a blanket stipulation or if that's for certain players like a Georgia Johnson, for example, right? But if it were a blanket policy, you commit to every MLP, right? So that means if you go play an APP, you have to commit to a PPA, 1-for-1.
Yeah, I mean, our commitments are already, regardless of what version of a contract you have, our commitments are already pretty extensive. So, yeah, I mean, I think the moral of the story is there's just still so much in the air. It's still so unbelievably messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we get this figured out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I'd love to play pickleball at some point. Pickleball tournaments.
Right. That'd be nice.
What do you think is going through some of the lesser known players' heads that signed some deals both on PPA and MLP that definitely not the lucrative deals, but certainly enough money that could be considered a full-time job and allow them to make that break?
So we've talked about the fact that like some people made this commitment with certain expectations, which made them feel secure enough to leave a full-time job or another career path, only to then find out later that the deal was not as they expected. And, in that case, we're like, well, those players got completely screwed. On the flip side, there are these, like during the talent race, right? Like there were a bunch of signings of names I hadn't heard of before, right? Chao Yi Wang, Camilla Zilvetti, Liz Trulock, Richard Livernois Jr., Eric Pillay. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but these are people that were signed to essentially create density in the rosters when there was the talent race, right? Some of these players who signed agreements were then offered a buyout. Some of these players, when they were offered the deal, they were like, sure. Now they're offered this buyout and they just get to take a big check and go home. And then if they want to, they can negotiate deals in the future. But I know for a fact that some of these players just have, $50,000 or whatever in their pocket now that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So they just get bought out and then...
Yeah.
The pickleball lottery.
Why are they... So these are all, with the exception of Richard and Eric, the first three names that you mentioned, Chao Yi Wang, Camilla Zilvetti, Liz Trulock, they're PPA signed players, right? I think the last two were MLP signed players.
Yeah, I don't know if any MLP players were offered buyouts. I know that PPA players were offered buyouts.
Interesting.
Because I think the MLP players were offered the sort of like revised agreements, which was just like a reduction in some cases by like 50%.
Makes some sense. I would think that not honoring the job, not honoring the pay of somebody that did quit a job, that's probably the biggest legal exposure out of all of this, because they have serious damages. They could say, I made a decision based on this contract, which you are now violating. Not only did you violate, not pay me the amount of money that I'm owed, I also am out, 6 months of salary because I made this. And I don't know how that works legally, but I'd assume that there's some damages there above and beyond what they are actually owed from a contract.
Yeah. Yeah. But you would assume that anybody who's willing to go and try and get damages out of either org is sort of understanding that that's really going to screw over the relationship and, how they're going to be able to participate moving forward, right? So,
yeah, I mean, that kind of goes both ways, though, right? Like, okay, it's going to screw over the relationship, but these people aren't paying you, right? I would say that they're firing the first shot. Like, that's screwing up their relationship more.
Yeah.
But, like, so what, are you just going to bend the knee to somebody that has an agreement and then isn't paying you? Like, sure, maybe they're looking for some flexibility, but it's not right. They're the ones that are in the wrong. Like, it's not wrong to sue over something that you're genuinely owed.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, they're not going to be happy about that.
Right.
They're definitely, nobody gets happy. Nobody would be happy about that.
Yeah. Except for these players who just have a check and didn't have to do anything,
Yeah.
which is wild.
I'll take a buyout.
I should have. Yeah.
I'll take a buyout.
Anything else you guys want to touch on regarding the merger, or let that dust just settle and we'll see where we're at next week?
Yeah, right. That's kind of how it is. Yeah, we'll just
Week to week at this point.
Yeah, we'll see what we hear between now and then. But I mean, it sounds like everything's moving in the right direction. Everybody's at the table. Everybody's interested in moving this forward. There's just these details, but we've said that before, so we'll see.
Awesome. Well, we're gearing up for Desert Ridge. I'm super excited to watch this tournament. There's some cool matchups. They are still going to be implementing the new serve rule to get some more data points on that. Zane, I mean, you lost your first serve. Do you like this new one?
I've lost like every. I mean, no, I'm not really a fan. I understand the intent of it. Basically, the new serve rule is you have to drop the ball from your waist. Your hand has to be over the ball as you drop it. You cannot toss the ball up. The idea being the highest you could possibly hit the ball would be at your waist because the ball is already starting there. But there is still so much subjectivity. They say that you can't toss the ball up. Can you toss the ball forward? That was a big argument that Ben had, that he was not tossing the ball upwards, but rather tossing it forwards, which we don't know whether or not that is still, I don't know whether that's legal or not. Christian Alshon posted a clip on Instagram of him asking for clarity from a referee. Is what part of the hip, right? Your hip is a decent size of like thing, right?
Flesh.
Is it the bottom of your hip? Is it the top of your hip?
Right.
Like, is it the top of the hip bone, the bottom of the hip bone? Hips kind of go like diagonal across your body, right? Like where on the hip is. And then, there's also stuff where, what if you are crouching downwards? What if you're in a crouch? What if you're squatting, right? Is it the height of your hip in the squat, or is it the height of your hip if you were standing up straight?
Right.
At what point can you then like sort of go crouch down below it? It is very much a mess. It's very much a let's use the drop serve without using the drop serve.
Yeah.
But keep all the ambiguous rules.
Yeah. 72 faults were reported during just the qualifying rounds at the PPA Masters.
Just qualifying.
Yeah.
Yikes. I wonder what that I wonder where that stat came from. Like who was tracking that? Was that
PPA
Don?
put it out. That was a PPA. They posted
Okay.
that.
I wonder how
So
much
they weren't shy about it.
I wonder how much there were in the main draw.
Right. I don't know.
The
But-
qualifiers are probably the ones that are least plugged into some of these changes, right? So somebody probably went up there, thought that they were going to serve like Tyson from your nipples, and just went for it.
The old Tyson nip serve.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, but so now players will be given a warning. So you get one warning. I assume that's per match. So you at least get, it's not like
There's also going to be
consolation.
I suppose. They simply moved the problem area from the belly button to the hip, right? Now it's less of a question of, is this person hitting too high by their belly button? It's now, are they hitting too high by their hip? So the enforcement element of things is no different. It's just a slightly lower. The issue is moved a foot lower, right?
Yeah.
It's still equally difficult to enforce the rule. It is now just different height that we're having trouble enforcing the rule at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but to your point, like people change planes in the midst of a serve. Like Ben's a good example where he sort of does this little squat and then he extends upward. You know, a lot of people kind of come up on their tippy toes, right? So the hip's location relative to the ground changes throughout the motion of the serve. So
Right. Which
like,
hip are you talking
is
about?
it at contact?
Right.
Is it when you're like standing up straight? Is it like when you start like your first like again, it's just
If you're loading on your back leg, right? If I'm serving into the court, my front leg, my back leg is the one driving the power. My back leg is going to be lower than my front leg, right? Which hip are we talking about?
yeah.
I assume the higher hip, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
I don't know. I just if they continue with this, which you know the fact that they're using this rule again is an indicator that they would continue to implement this moving forward. Will that then be also applied to the amateur game, and then does that become some sort of thing that people are trying to enforce when they're at the courts just playing pickup and stuff? So that would be that'd be a nightmare. But
the really unfortunate thing is now this is going to give credence to all of the people in my comments on YouTube that say, I thought you weren't allowed to toss the ball up.
yeah,
Like that is the number one like misconception about the serve among amateurs. They're like, I thought you couldn't toss the ball up. And I've been saying for forever, no, you can toss the ball up to 20 feet if you want.
right.
Well, now you can't. Now there is actually something to that argument. And yeah, it's just more confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another interesting development is that J-Dub Johnson and Dylan Frazier are not going to be here, along with Jack Sock, actually. Dylan and Jack Sock went the distance in singles last tournament, and so do you think they're going to be kind of following George's suit and going APP, or what was the motive behind this?
I don't know, but they're part of that whole Johnson 5 discrepancy, so I'm sure it's like the contracts aren't figured out. This could be some sort of like, well, fine, we're not going to play until we get this figured out. That's speculation. Who knows? I would doubt J-Dub and Dylan want to go to APP. I think back during the talent race, I was just hearing that it's very important for J-Dub specifically to be able to play against like the best talent, and he wants to be able to play against Ben, for example, right? So I would doubt that J-Dub would ever just go the APP route, and I assume Dylan and J-Dub kind of operate as like a package. So no, I wouldn't see them as APP players.
I could see them doing it as a bargaining chip,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot of politicking and posturing right now.
Right, J-Dub and Dylan not showing up. Georgia, meanwhile, is playing APPs.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's I think you have to be willing to go like in these negotiations, right? You have to be kind of willing to go nuclear in order to, if they know that you're not going to press the button and actually leave, they can just do whatever they want, basically. Like you have to be able to and willing to walk away. Nobody wants that. I don't think either side wants that, but it's a powerful tool to be able to walk away.
So in their absence, obviously last week we found out that Newman's been driving down to practice a little bit more with Thomas Wilson, but I mean we got some big players out there like Wright and Iganowicz. Tyson's going to be playing.
Say that one again. Wright and who?
Iganowicz.
Nice.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wrong?
No, it's good.
I don't care.
Ignato.
No. He got it.
Yeah. Iganowicz.
Well, there's
Iguanowicz.
Deckel.
Iguanowicz. I like it.
New nickname.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some great duos out there. So who do you think's going to kind of take that secondary spot?
Thomas and Riley.
Yeah.
Playing against them, what'd you think in rec?
They're fucking good.
I mean, you walked out, right?
That's true. I did walk out of one point.
That what's funny about that clip is like I walked in, and that was the first clip I recorded. And
You walk in, I walk out. What a coincidence. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Deckel and I played against Riley and Thomas at Carlos DeLora's new lab here in Austin, which is a cool little 1-court indoor facility. They were getting some practice together, getting some reps together, and we did have some pretty crazy points, including one where Deckel and Riley had a crazy hands battle, and then there was an ATP, and Riley defended an ATP.
That was way out.
That was way out, and then Deckel was out of the picture, and I'm coming over for the cross, and I've got an overhead, and I just net it.
Yeah.
And grabbed my bag and walked out.
We didn't see him again.
Never. Has not been seen since.
So playing against them, you thought they were pretty formidable? Good
Yeah.
duo.
Yeah, no, Declan and I did not win a game against them in 2 days. We played 2-hour sessions, and we had some close ones, some good points, but, you know, they're really, really good. I think that the big key there, I think that they are best off with Thomas on the right and Riley on the left. And kind of what we saw and spoke about in our last podcast, breaking it down, Thomas actually taking his forehand off of Riley's forehand, running around and taking forehands from the middle of the court. It's going to give a different look to Ben and Colin, which I'm sure they'll make an adjustment. But Thomas is a very, very underrated player still, and I think that it's a streaky combo, but I would put them for a team to beat Ben and Colin. I would put, other than J-Dub and Dylan, I would put those two as the favorite, followed by I do like Matt and James together. I like Tyson and Deckel together as well, and I think you kind of know what you're going to get out of Pablo and Fed, and I don't see them really challenging Ben and Colin a tremendous amount. They have in the past, but I think they've sort of solved that a bit.
Yeah.
Well, another facet, I guess, of this upcoming tournament is not by choice. Pat Smith has been suspended for just this tournament. It's in regards to a comment he had made regarding the Masters when the PPA had posted on socials, canceled all bronze medal matches due to injuries and withdrawals. He made a statement about it, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, so PPA at the Masters announced that the bronze match is canceled due to injuries and withdrawals, and Pat Smith then takes to Facebook, I believe. Just an update. No one withdrew, in all caps. The men's bronze medal match not happening had nothing to do with any of us players. Wanted to play, even asked to play at the original start time 10 a.m., but they wanted it to be streamed and moved the start time to 11 a.m. Well, Frederick cannot be on 2 courts at the same time, so we decided to split the bronze.
It was interesting too. In our most recent email from the PPA, they said if you withdraw from the bronze medal match, you get a $500 fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was coming, one tournament after this.
Right.
You know.
So Pat is, just to clarify, because we assume because of that, Pat is suspended for Desert Ridge. So he's taking the tournament off. So he won't be there at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I've known Pat for a long time. I assume that he's not lying, right? Like, about that none of the players were injured. I think, if there's somebody's word that I'm going to trust, it's Pat. So if this fact pattern is correct, a player speaking out against the tour and getting punished is for something that actually did happen.
Right.
Is brutal, right? Like, you said what happened and you get punished for it. Right. Like, I think more things like this are inevitably going to lead to a players' union. Again, if a union is actually realistic once we're negotiating against one entity, right? When there's a players union or association or whatever that's trying to represent players from MLP and PPA and APP, I don't think that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But once it's us against them, then I think we are actually relatively close to getting something together. Takes time, but
Yeah.
So there's the players committee right now, which seems to be involved in the decisions regarding the serve rule and the seating. Do you think a topic like this gets bubbled to the players committee at all, or no?
sure. I mean, it can, but it's just like the players committee can say whatever they want, and it doesn't change whether they're gonna implement anything or not. Like, so I'm sure this will be brought up, but
Yeah.
whether anything will be done about it, I doubt it.
So, yeah, so I talked to Pat, and he was just like, I'm suspended for one tournament. I can't say why. And he sort of just kept like saying that. He was being very careful. He said, I've accepted my suspension. We'll be back at the next one and want to move on from it. The suspension doesn't affect me, but doesn't only affect me, but my partners too, for which I'm very sorry for and feel terrible for. I don't want to ever cause another issue for them again. So he's kind of taking the high road. He's staying out of it. And he's like, let's just put it to bed and move on. But yeah, he's suspended for a tournament. Has anybody ever been suspended like this before?
Not that I know of. I guess
any
now we know the line. You can flip somebody off. You can throw paddles, but
Yeah.
you can't have an opinion on what happened.
Was AJ ever? He just went right back into the next tournament, didn't he?
Well, I think there was a deal brokered. I think there was an agreement between all parties involved that everyone accepted so that there weren't further punishments and issues.
Yeah, but like, that's nuts, right? Like, a physical altercation doesn't result in a suspension, but a post about what happened in a match does.
Yeah.
I mean, that's brutal.
Well, it could also just be the fact that now they've implemented this new tighter policy where they're just not going to, they're going to tighten the reins on everything, right? So maybe this is the case. Maybe we'll see more suspensions moving forward.
True. Yeah, that's a possibility. It's an interesting fact pattern.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, moving into the draw, I mean, a lot of things have shifted. A lot of people aren't going to be there. A lot of new interesting matchups and pairings as well. In men's singles in particular, there's no Jack Sock or Dylan who went all the way. Do you guys see any rising talent that might still be able to take Ben out of that, or do you think Ben's going to come back and fight for this one?
We got is Kwang Dong in there?
I believe he is.
Let's see. Is Christian. I mean, there's now a decent chunk of players in the draw that have beaten Ben one time or another, right? Like, I think the people that have a game to beat Ben, I think Federico can do it. I think Christian can do it. I think Kwang Dong can do it. Connor's done it. I think Ben is still going to win the most singles titles of anybody this year, but it's going to get harder and harder for him to win any given one.
Yeah, right. And that doesn't mean anybody is necessarily like gaining on him, right? Or becoming a better. It's just that there's more people who are strong talent that he has to fight through tournament in, tournament out to reach that gold medal match.
Well, and I would say I think that players are gaining on Ben because Ben's at a different part of the learning curve, right? Like, Ben is the best, but he's not getting better as fast as some of these other players because he's already so good, and it's very, very difficult from his position. So relatively, if Ben is a 7.1 DUPR, Christian going from a 6.8 to a 6.95 puts him in a window where he can be beating Ben a certain amount of time, right? If your DUPR, we're just going to use DUPR as like the best example of skill level. If your DUPR is a point lower than Ben's, you're going to win 0% of the time. If it's a half point lower, you're going to win 0% of the time. If it's a quarter point lower, you might be winning that matchup 5% of the time, right? And if it's, if it's only a tenth of a point lower, you might be at 25% of the time, right? And so now with all these different players getting closer, his first couple rounds aren't a full point lower, they're now a half point lower. And his next couple rounds might be that quarter point where he does have a 5% chance of losing. And then the semis and finals might be that 25% chance of losing. So everybody else catching up does make it more difficult for him, I think, to put together 5 matches in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Just I guess the probability gets a little more difficult for him.
Yeah. Are you playing singles?
I'm not. I think I'm retired from singles.
What?
Bro, have you seen Christian Alshon? No. That dude's good at pickleball. He's faster than me. He's like, all these guys are...
I don't like this mentality. I don't agree with this.
No.
Unsubscribe.
I am a double specialist. I understand and respect singles, but I think it takes more time for players to come in and play doubles, and we've talked forever about specialization.
Yeah.
I'm fast. I've got good ground strokes. I'm smart on the court, but I'm not as athletic as some of these tennis players coming in. I'm just not. Like, I played D3 tennis, and I was like decently good at that.
All right, dude. We're gonna have to start doing some mentality coaching sessions. Okay?
No, dude, I'm a goat.
Let's get you hooked up with David Goggins, and he can start talking some sense to you. I don't like this mentality.
I do like David Goggins.
Yeah.
No, I'm being smart about it. Like, I'm still going balls to the wall for doubles, but you can't be the best at everything.
Yeah, I mean, I beat you in singles, so
that's just maybe a point. My guy's just throwing just wrong stuff out.
Yeah. If singles and doubles were on like different weekends, would you be more inclined to play singles? I guess my question is, how much is sort of like the physical aspect and the grind of trying to play singles and 2 doubles events factoring into your decision?
Not at all. I mean, like, I don't mind the grind. I think it's just the putting in the time outside of the tournament, right? It's the training the singles versus training the doubles.
You've got Ben right down the street. I mean, you wouldn't say, if I go train with Ben a few times a week, then I'm getting repetitions with the best guy, and therefore my game's going to be better. I'm going to have a better shot, right?
No, I mean, I certainly could. Like, I definitely, I have plenty of people I can play singles with. It's not an issue of getting the good practice. I'm just going to keep talking. It's not an issue of getting the good practice. It's an issue of every hour I spend on the court playing singles is an hour I'm not practicing doubles.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I am not as fast or as long as some of these other players, which is going to limit my upside going forward. But I think I'm still going to play probably the slams in singles. Slap a little bit, stay fresh for MLP Dream Breakers. Can still bring it there.
Yeah.
Old man still got it.
Okay.
But yeah, no, Thomas, if you beat me in singles that one time, why don't you get out there and play some of these pro draws?
This is great. You're finally admitting it. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it. 31, maybe got 3 years left doing yoga. Maybe I'll make a run.
Yoga's good.
All right. What do we got?
You want to touch on any of the other divisions? I mean, women's singles, there's no Parento. That could get spicy in singles.
Is there no Anna Lee?
There is Anna Lee.
There is Anna Lee.
Yeah.
So opens the door for Jansen, Todd, and Davidze. No, it doesn't. Not if there's... Have any of those people, other than Paris one time, beat Anna Lee? I guess it opens the door for them to get to a final.
Tyra. Is Tyra playing singles?
I'll have to confirm. I don't know.
No, well, Tyra was saying she's pretty much like done with singles, so I doubt she is.
Wow, what a shitty attitude.
We'll get you and Tyra in a session with Goggins. We'll fix you guys right up.
Now, I love my David Goggins, man. I've read his books, but smarter. You got to be smart.
Did you read them or did you listen to them on audio tape?
I sat down, purchased a book made out of paper and read it.
Okay. All right. Good.
If you guys don't know who David Goggins is,
How do you not know who David Goggins is? You got
stay on, motherfucker. Sean's gonna be emailing me my Pro XR Game Plus swear jar here for Stop Alzheimer's now. I think we're at 60 for today. So,
okay. So my one question actually though for you, Zane, is like, to what degree do you think Rachel Rohrabacher is like a mainstay in women's doubles? I mean, it seems like her and Anna have a pretty good partnership here. Yeah, she's still like very new, and when you think about the reps she's gotten, it's pretty limited.
yeah.
What do you think her potential is? What's her ceiling?
How did they do at the Masters? Do you remember off the top of your head?
They got second, I believe.
They got to the final.
Yeah. Silver.
Yeah, I mean, like, Rachel's just a baller. She hits harder than pretty much any of these females do. She has unbelievable speed ups, good hands. She meshes well with Anna. So yeah, I don't see why she wouldn't be a mainstay. She's not going to get worse, right? People might start to figure out some of her patterns, but like, I think the improvement that comes after that and following that is there's still a lot of upside there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. What do you think about Rachel?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Okay.
I mean, I think her results are really impressive. I would have expected her to, kind of like when anybody comes in and has some good results and people figure her out, and then she sort of, recedes a little bit, or at the very least plateaus. But it seems like her results just continue to get better. So I don't know. She's one to watch, in my opinion, but that's why I brought her up. All right. So in the interest of time, I think we should move on. But are we going to do voicemails too?
We could tap into some of those.
Do we have other voicemails?
Yeah,
okay.
let me get them.
No, I just want to know if that's something that we're going to do at the end, because I do want to talk about this front office sports profile on China and their play into pickleball, because I thought it was really interesting. Did you look at this?
I did. I read through that article. Yeah. So take it away.
Yeah, I think just like some high points, right, or some talking points from this. China, like, they want to lead the world in pickleball, right? So in 5 years, they expect to have 10,000 courts, which is about how many the U.S. has, as far as like the last report. I'm sure it's much higher now. And they want to have 100 million players, and the goal is Olympic domination. Obviously, they've been very successful in badminton and table tennis, and they want to essentially replicate that, but for pickleball. And so Seymour Rifkin, who, what's he best known for? I guess the World Pickleball Federation. I think he was pretty involved.
He started the Pickleball Hall of Fame before I think USAP started a competitor to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. And he's just been like an ambassador for the sport.
He runs IPTPA, which is the coaching certification. He runs, I think, founded, what did you say, the WPF?
Yeah,
right?
the World Pickleball Federation.
And the Pickleball Hall of Fame. And I think there's probably some other stuff. He does a lot of stuff. Seymour. Actually, Seymour is one of the first few people that I started playing pickleball with back in the Chicago area. So he was a goat back then, and has over the last few years definitely spent more of his time off the court, doing this type of stuff. But yeah, good dude. I've known him for a while. Polarizing, like he doesn't hold back, right? Like he has big beef with USA Pickleball. He's got he's got his if he's got an opinion, he's gonna say it.
Yeah, so I've never met him. He sounds like a pretty intense guy. It like does Ironmans and triathlons and stuff like that. But he's been taking these groups of people over to China to sort of spread the word, spread the game. I was asking around based on some of the numbers in this article, and I think he might have been exaggerating a little bit, but a few interesting tidbits from this, right? So,
well, the way that I read it though was this is his conversation with a Chinese official, which is then being picked up by front office sports. So it is a little bit of a game of telephone, right?
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, because I just like, so I'll read through some of these numbers, right? Like, so he said that he inquired how many students attended a university that he was visiting in China. He was told 50,000 people attended the university, and he asked how many play pickleball, and they said 25,000. That's insane. It also is something I find very hard to believe, which is why I'm sort of like, you know, my radar's up here because I don't know, some of these numbers just seem insane. He said that he went and he had a few pros and they did an exhibition, and the exhibition had 4.8 million in viewership. For comparison, last November's USA Pickleball National Championships had 2.6 million, and I think there was questions around how we got to that 2.6 million number. For further comparison, the World Series averages 9.1 million viewers per game. So those are like insane numbers. I mean, even if they're like a fraction of that in reality, like still pretty crazy when you think about it.
I mean, I would imagine one of the three of us would have seen that video if that were the case.
Well, no, it was aired in China.
Right. But although there was something I saw in that article about like filling up a stadium to watch this exhibition, I believe.
Yeah.
Like I would have.
And he said everyone in the stadium bowed to him when he walked in. That must have been interesting.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like
The pickleball god.
I would think there's got to be somebody taking pictures of this stuff, right? Although it is a little dicey over there. If you're, you know, I know there's not very much freedom of press. I don't know if you can't like take pictures or whatever, but like I would think that if this is really, you know, filling up a stadium, like you should have somebody take a picture of that.
Yeah. There's like just no evidence of this other than these quotes.
But like, here's the thing. It is very, very believable, right? Like, and there is, the reason we're talking about it is because it makes sense, right? Like we said, you know, China has tons and tons of badminton courts, and they're the same exact specifications. You just have to move the kitchen line a foot further back. Mm-hmm. So they have the infrastructure already built. They have literally 1 billion people and a very big table tennis population there. So they have people who are interested in paddle and racket sports, and they have the courts basically already. So like it does make a ton of sense that this could take off unbelievably quickly there.
Yeah.
Which is why we're, you know, talking about it.
Yep. They have most of the manufacturers of pickleball paddles. Yeah, I mean, I think there's just also the broader point of if China really gets into pickleball, you know, that increases the chances of pickleball, you know, sticking around and not plateauing or eventually sort of dropping off like after this initial bubble that some claim it is. But they'll also help push it into the Olympics, make it more of a global sport. But then, so there's this UV guy, right? So he's a pro out of India, I believe, and he was on It Feels Right. And he said, this is sort of his quote about China getting into pickleball. These guys are going so serious. They are not going to compete in tournaments in the next 3 to 5 years. They're just sitting and grinding and training every day. They're not even allowed to post videos. So the world is not allowed to know where China's level is. Then one day when they're ready, they're just going to come and take over. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, but I think there needs, like in DUPR, there needs to be some connectivity, right? Like there needs to be some link between them and us for them to even have a reference of whether what they're doing is correct.
Okay.
Right? Like how do they know if that's really the strategy? How do they know?
I don't even think you're trying to tee up my next point here, but it's perfect.
I'm not.
So
what is the next deal?
DUPR has a legitimate deal with the Chinese government, right?
Oh, okay. That was a good segue.
Yeah. They've been spending time in China. They've helped facilitate over 30 tournaments. They've done them in like Beijing, Shanghai, and a bunch of other cities. One of these Chinese officials that they've been dealing with is touting DUPR as the bridge between pickleball in China and globally. And he kind of said that at this, like one of these pickleball events, right? They have contracted 2 Chinese influencers who have partnered with the Chinese Tennis Association. And they are kind of helping to lead the development of pickleball in China. And then, so I think it's only been 7 months that DUPR's been in China, and China is one of their top 5 countries now. So, what does that actually mean in numbers? I don't know. But, it's gaining traction. And the fact that there is DUPR is going to your point, be able to indicate, how good are these Chinese players relative to, U.S., India, Australia, Canada. So there is that connectivity, right?
Interesting. But even, at the pro level, like, they can't train in solitude. Is that the right? Yeah, by themselves. They can't train by themselves.
They don't have the talent. Right. They're not going to get good reps unless they start. They're going to need to send a faction of Chinese players over to compete on the PPA or something.
Right. Or at least they would need to hire some recently retired pros or something, or some pros. They would need to get some people that they don't consider to be a threat to go over there, play against them, so they can at least sort of gauge their progress.
Yeah.
Right? They have no metric to measure how good they are if this is the plan.
Right. Yeah.
No, but I mean, you see it with table tennis, right? You see the way that they have kids grinding from the age of 3 years old. When I see those table tennis points of some 4-year-old girl that can barely see over the table, just balling out, that's what we're up against, boys.
Yeah, yeah. The obsession will be there. But yeah, I think we've said this before, right? You can dink all day, you can work on your fundamentals, you can work on your thirds. But unless you're playing against the top talent, you're not going to reach that level. So that's going to be their biggest barrier.
Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, you into pickleball at all? You into pickleball? No? All right. I've got a nice little side hustle going here. I basically just show up at pickleball courts and I bring some products that they might need, and I slang pickleball products. With pickleball being such a hot sport right now, there's a lot of different products coming out, and it's hard to keep up with. So I just basically bring the products directly to the customer right here. Hey, bro. Hey, you're looking thirsty out there. You need one of these ice shakers? To be honest with you, though, all I'm really doing is I just subscribe to the pickleball box, and it comes straight to my door with all the hottest pickleball gear in here, and it's like $250 worth of stuff, and I get it for 99 bucks. Hey, Donna, I got that new Fila zip-up you were asking about right here. Yeah, that pickleball Fila zip-up, yeah. Yo, these pickleball junkies, man, once you give them a taste of that new product that they got coming out, they can't get enough of it. Hey, Tom, weren't you asking about some pickleball socks, man? I got some socks right here for you, brand new. Yo, did y'all need some sunblock? Was somebody asking about some sunblock? Hey, what's up, bro? You want to check out what all I got? Yeah, come check it out, man. Check it out. Wait. Cops, dude. Cops. Be cool. What's up, officer? Good day? Having a good day? Good. All right, check it out.
All right. We're back.
We're so back.
I just got an email, though. Want me to read it? Pretty interesting. My DUPR just went up.
I got that email, too. Is DUPR sponsoring us or what? We're talking about DUPR a lot.
Hey, DUPR, figure it out. They said, okay, this is actually interesting. I think people will find this useful. But your rating will now take into account points matter. Was this a tight match or a blowout? DUPR now evaluates the closeness of the match. So a score of 11-0 will have a bigger impact in your rating than a close match of 11-9 against that same opponent. So to me, that sounds like they're reverting to how it used to be because they moved away from that. Recency matters. A match you play today will impact your rating more than a match you played 6 months ago. Total match count matters. If you've played in a lot of matches, your rating will fluctuate less compared to a player with a lower match count. And every match matters, even against unrated players. Every match counts towards your rating, even if you are playing against someone who is unrated or new to DUPR. That part is the most interesting.
Right.
But, yeah, so some algorithm changes.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. They went to an ELO type of model, which is just wins and losses are the only thing that count, away from the points model. And now it sounds like we've gone full circle.
Yeah. Okay, where were we? What were we going to next?
We were about to jump into gambling in pickleball. Connor Pardo had tweeted that you can now wager on pickleball in the state of Florida. So you can head over to the Hard Rock Casino to play some bets. And it's my understanding that there is no limit to those bets either. So you can bet your own limit. Spendy.
Well, I probably couldn't.
Yeah, you pulled out all those ones, all 500.
It's true. There's probably some other reasons.
What's this YouTube video?
My YouTube video?
No, this one on. Oh, it's a Matty Pickles.
Yeah, he was just highlighting a Twitter user had driven all the way from what I believe Chicago to Florida just to hammer bets.
Yeah, right. And allegedly made over 15,000, but
They posted some screenshots. I don't know, but I mean, you can always just post the screenshots of the ones that you win.
Have you?
I believe it. I believe this person won.
Has there been any like integrity training or anything like that you've heard of?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
I don't know.
You haven't.
There was one back like a while ago.
Okay.
I had to watch like a pretty decent video series when I was employed at the PPA. Was not allowed to bet. Wish I could have, but
Wow.
yeah,
You weren't allowed to?
nope, not as an employee. I mean, look I mean, come on.
guess that
I
would
was
make sense.
cheering. Like I could have swayed some matches, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that could be. You guys could just be influencers, right? Like if somebody's putting a bet on somebody, maybe you got the hype guys out there heckling them. Maybe
We can be bought. So
I mean, who
time
can't?
to explore.
Even Jimmy Miller was bought. He's a slave to Big Pickle now.
So yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to start this beef. I love Jimmy. I just want to. We need some new beef now that Pickleball Studios absolutely completely irrelevant.
Yeah, they're like terrified or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. But yeah, so this gambling saga has been exactly that, quite the saga. But I think it was originally in June 2021 that Genius Sports. This has got to be wrong. Original goal was Q3 of 2021. I think that's 2022, right?
I mean, it's been
So Genius
talked
Sports
about
and-
for forever since
Right.
I've been playing. So like 2021, the original, it could be. That's plausible.
But there was like an actual announcement, and that was in June 2021. And Genius Sports, yeah, I think the goal was to have it in Q3 of 2022, right? Then there was all this back and forth that never really happened. I mean, I've told this story before, but the reason PicklePod ever came into existence was because gambling was supposed to come to pickleball, and someone I was working with from the gambling world said, you need to start a podcast so you can get a big sponsorship. That was the reason that I ever ended up on a podcast.
Let's go. Hey, I'm making YouTube videos too, and we're betting in our YouTube videos. Like, come on, I need a sponsor for those.
Yeah, we need a gambling sponsorship. DraftKings, PointsBet, FanDuel. I don't know. Someone come write us a big check, please.
Any place where money is exchanged,
Yeah.
we will accept.
But yeah, so
Said we can be bought.
then in March, we had Pardo on, March of 2023, right? And he said, people don't realize how much goes into gambling, because he was just talking about how complicated it is to actually underwrite the lines, create the technical infrastructure. And he said that gambling was going to be coming in May of 2023. That's what he said. The big hurdles were rolling out iPads to refs to make score available in real time, and 2, incorporating old data to set lines. The first tournament on FanDuel was Kansas City, August 24.
In the midst of
That's a wild one to have as
Yeah,
the first.
right. When the tour war started. And so I'm sure that got in the way, right? And then betting was available via FanDuel in 10 states in 2023. We had covered it a little bit and bet on some of the matches at the Cincinnati Open in September 2023 as well. And then gambling was halted in the fall of 2023 as sportsbook allegedly were losing like hundreds of thousands of dollars of people just betting.
Hammering the
house
favorites,
on.
right?
Yeah. It's like just too easy to win. And then gambling was reintroduced at the PPA Masters in January, and expanded to another sports book and state, a Hard Rock Bet app in Florida. And Connor Pardo tweeted on January 21, you can now wager on pickleball in the state of Florida. Pop by Hard Rock Casino to play and watch pickleball every PPA Tour weekend. But I think there's been like some complaints around, the actual lines and stuff like that, right? Like lines are only revealed minutes before a match starts, which is annoying for people like us, where we could sit here and like make our bets and we could talk about that, right? But that's restrictive.
Well, the problem with that is just the way that the tournaments are formatted, right? If you go to a progressive draw, you can actually do that.
Yeah.
That was a progressive draw though. So.
Oh, still?
And it was
which one?
The Masters, right?
Oh, the Masters still had the same issue with the lines only being up a couple minutes beforehand?
And they fluctuated like crazy. They were constantly changing.
Yeah, and they would be there, and then they wouldn't be there. And then there were like the bet limits, but I guess there's no limits now. And it's expected to be available on DraftKings, MGM, and more here soon. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're in Texas, so we can't bet on anything anyway, which is frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
Time to make the drive.
There we go.
But I would have lost a lot of money on the Lions if we had been able to bet, so I guess that's a good thing.
I made $20 on the Lions, off the Lions, with Pickle Lotus. I gave him 2.5 to 1 odds. But, I'm curious the issue, I guess, with the Hyundai Masters. I would have thought that the progressive draw would solve a lot of this issue with having lines that are fluctuating a ton or not up for long enough. Like the matchup an entire day in advance,
right?
For the most part. So I'm surprised that part of things is still an issue.
Yeah.
Well, gambling's been a big part of the topic regarding viewership as well. There's been a lot of talk of why there's not more viewership when there's supposedly millions of people playing across the country recreationally. And so we had done a post and got a ton of comments back from that. But what Zane, you yourself, like, why do you think that viewership is so low compared to the people actually playing the sport?
I think that the people actually playing the sport might be overstated, right? Like we see all these reports of 36.5 million or 50 million or whatever. And I have no doubt that 50 million or 36 million people picked up a paddle in 2023, but you can't classify them as a player.
Right.
So I think our core playing group is much, much smaller than that. In 2023, 2022, and 2021, like pickleball was the trendy new thing to do, and everybody was trying it. So again, I'm sure that top line number is correct, but how many people are regularly playing? I think that's growing, right? That's without a doubt growing. But so I think the top line is I have some serious questions about. And then at the end of the day, I think that the way that we're filming some of these matches is still not super compelling. It's a traveling circus that the same thing pretty much every weekend. You see the same matchups pretty much every weekend. And I think that a team format is superior in the long run. And MLP hasn't had the same sort of runway to run as many events and build up a following. But I think over time, having home and away and teams that you can get behind with some player continuity is what's going to drive viewership. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I think it's just the number. I think it's your first point, like the number of people playing that know enough about the sport to watch it. It's not like football, right? It's not like F1 where there's this appeal to watching it if you don't play it, right? So you need that baseline of people playing consistently and actually liking pickleball to get a strong cohort to actually tune into the matches. I think that's the biggest barrier.
Yeah.
So.
Well, also the game isn't optimized for television. It's optimized. It's been under the basically guidance of USA Pickleball for forever. The game and the rules are optimized for participation currently, right? We need different rules for professionals, with the objective being not for participation, but the objective being what is the most appealing thing to watch, right? So we are making steps away from using USA Pickleball rules, but are these steps making the sport more appealing to watch? No. Actually, like, dumbing down the serve makes it less appealing to watch. It reduces athleticism in the beginning of the point, and it makes it less likely that you're going to have a dynamic point with a third shot drive. That's something that anybody can understand. Somebody clobbering the hell out of a third shot. They don't understand third shot drops as much, right? It's not as visually appealing to somebody who's just going through channels, right? You see somebody clobber a pickleball, and you're like, okay, well, what's going on over here, right? You see somebody hit a feathery little third shot drop, you're like, okay, I'm just going to watch a match. So the pickleball isn't optimized for viewership currently. There are changes that I think can be made that can make things more viewer friendly. Again, for forever, I've said spin is interesting, power is not. Power should be generated from the player, not from the paddle. We're allowing the paddles to be way too poppy. Spin is interesting to watch because it allows you to create offense that that gets you pulled out of those long dinking rallies. So I think we've gone with USA Pickleball rules for too long, and now it's time to really optimize for viewership. So, and that then converts more of the hardcore players into actual sort of watchers, or even people who are just, like I said, sort of scrolling by, checking it out for a little bit longer. You don't have to know anything about tennis to, when somebody hits a 140 mile per hour serve, be like, yeah, that's pretty dope. Right.
What about you, Thomas?
I agree. Let's do the sand question.
Love it. So our boy Dink McDinkmaster. I'll let you read the question. Go ahead. If MLP doesn't pay any players in January, does that void the current contract? Are they in breach of the contract at that point? From what I understand and what I've heard, I believe that MLP has until about March 10th is basically the final deadline to pay its players before the contract is basically like voidable. That's how I understand it. I don't know. Have you heard or know differently? I guess at this point there are now so many different contracts.
Yeah.
There's PPA original contracts. There's PPA amended contracts. There's MLP original contracts. There's different versions of MLP original contracts. There are amended NUCO contracts. We are now just talking about so many different things. It's hard to say with certainty, and there are plenty of different carve-outs as well. So,
Let's do some voicemails.
Yeah, let's round it out. All right, these are both from Tropical, your buddy back in Michigan.
Wait, I heard Maddie Pickles also sent us one, somewhat recently at 1:48.
Yeah, it might be too late.
Too late. Damn.
All right, here's the first one.
This is Tropical from the Caribbean calling the Pickle Pod. Very confusing way to leave a voicemail, but we are doing it. Been a little bit on the low key. It's wintertime. Your boy, Hibernation Station. I have a quick question for Zane and Thomas. Zane, is it true that when Tropical came down to the lab in Austin, he fucking ran the show? Ask, is it true? That's just all I want to ask. Is it true? Come on.
Absolutely, 100%. We're gonna have to get his Venmo information too for the sand. It's for the Stop Alzheimer's swear jar.
Did you play with him?
No, I was playing, and then he just rolled in afterwards, and we exchanged pleasantries. And come on,
he's fun to play with. He's just the biggest hype man. Playing in a tournament with him is
Bro,
hilarious.
shots
He's got
fired.
great hands.
get him into the hype, guys.
We had a ton of fun with him in Atlanta, actually. They brought him in to MC the MLP event there, and we definitely vibed. So we've chatted. There's been some potential collaborations coming, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the best story about that is he just went rogue to interview Trae Young.
Love that.
He was like, "Let me just go in," and they were like, "No, we didn't get that approved." And he's like, "I'm just gonna go over there and talk to him."
Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff. The man's good at his job.
Yeah.
He absolutely crushed it emceeing it.
Yeah, I
Like-
think they're trying to hire him back. I think he had committed. He would have been in this event, and he would have been emceeing. But
R.I.P. first
no
event.
mo.
All right, here's his second one.
It's Nick from Tropical once again, calling from the Caribbean. Got a quick question. If you had the opportunity, Thomas and Zane, and you guys got into a boxing match with one person, who would you guys like to fight from either the PPA-MLP or APP, one-on-one, say 3 rounds only, knockouts, double points, knockdown, triple points, knockdown, double points, knockout, triple points. Let me know. Tropical, come on.
All right, you first.
What do you got?
You first.
Who do I want to box?
Yeah.
What kind of question is this? I will box. I will box Jay DeVilliers because I don't think he has a killer instinct, and because of that, I could take him out and pull off an upset.
Nice. Yeah, I can see that for sure. And he's got croissant hands.
Yeah, he's got croissant hands.
They're like just so soft and like
flaky.
buttery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Does it have to be a male?
No,
No.
no.
I feel like my best chances of winning would be against a female.
Oh,
But
weird.
I'm not very confident against any of the guys in the Pro Tour. You know what? I'm gonna say Hayden Patriquin. I'm going for Hayden.
He's scrappy though.
He is scrappy, but like he's probably the only person in pickleball that I have in male pickleball that I have the weight and height advantage over. Yeah, it's Big H.
Okay.
100%.
Do we have any other voicemails?
That is it.
All right. Then we will we'll cut it there. Until next week.
Pickle Pod.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun,